bonjour everyone. This is Tula Rampont and I am the France correspondent for International Living. Very excited today to bring you an expat interview with Gail and Ralph Paget. First want to say that we are in the lovely town of Port-Ricard, which is about a 20-minute drive from Aix-en-Provence, and they are staying at a gîte, which is kind of like a holiday accommodation, and we are surrounded by sheep, lavender fields. It's Provençal countryside, and that's going to be kind of the topic today, is living in the south of France and how Gail and Ralph came to be here. So we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of coming over and living your dream life in the south of France. First of all, I just wanted to say, could you just tell us a bit about your backgrounds, where you're from?
Okay, should I go first?
Yeah.
From North Carolina originally.
Okay.
Went to university there at NC State
Okay.
in Raleigh. Graduated there and then moved to the Washington, D.C. area. And that's where I met Gail, probably 10 years after I moved there.
Oh, great.
And so we met there, got married there, and then moved to Germany.
Okay.
And then over to you.
I'm a Washington State native, but we moved down to Southern California when I was pretty young, and then finished high school in Palm Springs, and that's really what I consider to be my hometown, Palm Springs, California.
Oh, nice. Palm Springs is nice.
Yeah. My mom lived there for over 40 years. I went to UCLA.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Majored in Spanish.
Oh, goodness.
So I spent junior year in Mexico City, continued on, did a master's in Latin American studies.
Goodness.
So you're probably wondering how I ended up in
Yeah,
France.
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
anyway,
Wonderful. Yeah.
Moved to Germany.
Okay.
Well, actually, I was in Germany as a language specialist before I met Ralph.
Okay.
Ended up in Washington, D.C., and that's where I met him.
You guys
And
met,
then we went back over to Germany, and
So how you
that's
for the
where
next-
our
for the next-
French story begins.
Okay.
So for the next 20 years or so, we were living in Germany, in Heidelberg, or in the Washington, D.C. area. And when we were living in Heidelberg, of course, we wanted to explore Europe. And we did all over Western Europe. But as the years moved along, we started gravitating more and more to southern France. And so you just got to know some people in our little town of Saint-Remy, and it just seemed like a great place to be. It's a right-sized town for us, so it had a lot of pluses for us.
That's really nice,
Right.
yeah.
But tell them what really brought us to Saint-Remy.
Well, I'm a bird watcher, and Camargue is a
Uh-huh.
huge attraction for bird watchers. It's one of the best bird watching areas
Smart.
in the
Gorgeous.
in the globe. And Gail likes Provence because of all the impressionist artists, and so it's no big trick to convince her to come down for sort of a delayed honeymoon, because we kind of moved over to Germany right after we got married.
Okay.
So this is a little bit of a delayed honeymoon to come down here. And we spent a week down here, got to go to the Camargue. We stayed in Saint-Remy. We explored all this area, vineyards and olive groves and everything. It just, that was the beginning of the love affair with this area.
Oh, great. And am I correct in saying you ended up going, kind of taking vacations and coming back and forth from Germany here?
Right.
And then when did the idea to move on a more permanent basis, when did that?
Well, when
Probably
retirement, leading up to
Okay.
retirement, which we wanted to take as soon as we could, and then we started thinking, could we possibly make this work to live, in France? Yeah, and so we.
Well, one thing that happened too is there was a woman who was a journalist for the Stars and Stripes, it's the local military newspaper, and Gail read an article by her. She and her husband had retired and moved to southern France.
Oh, that's great.
So Gail made contact with her, and she invited us over for lunch. We were down on vacation, and once we met them, we realized it's possible. You can't actually,
you can do it.
Actually do it. It's not it's possible. It's not just a fantasy. It can be done.
Yeah.
So that really got us thinking hard about it.
And I do think, definitely it can be done. And I think France, sometimes, especially the south of France, people tend to think it's costly. You kind of have to scrimp and save.
Depends on where you go.
What would you say about that as far as budget-wise? Is there something for everybody? Can you come on retirement budget?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you go to Saint-Tropez or someplace like that with a view of the Mediterranean, you're going to pay more for that. But we found that the cost of living is not that much different than it is in the States. Now, the things you spend money on are different. Gasoline for the car is much more expensive here, but wine's less expensive. So it kind of evens out.
Yeah, and healthcare. healthcare, right?
healthcare-
Healthcare, you said a lot of times.
Healthcare is
It's fantastic.
incredible,
Yeah.
absolutely incredible.
Uh-huh.
In fact, we delved into it a little
Uh-huh.
more deeply than we really intended to because
Okay.
he needed
Neck operation.
an operation on his vertebrae.
Okay.
And so it was absolutely magnificent.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah,
it went
uh-huh.
perfectly, and it's a fraction of the cost
Yeah.
of
Sure.
what
And
you would pay in the U.S.
Yeah, I always try to stress that you can get like good quality healthcare. You
Yeah.
don't need like a private. You can go to just the public system.
Oh yeah,
Right. Yeah.
oh,
I think
absolutely.
that's something.
And then
Uh-huh.
in terms of the day-to-day lifestyle, you have these marvelous markets, outdoor markets.
Sure.
Like in Saint-Remy-de-Provence is one of the best, and so
Yeah,
you have
that
all
is
this
gorgeous.
wonderful
Yeah.
fruits and vegetables. You can, eat seasonally, and it's just wonderful. And in addition to the fruits and vegetables, well, one is the olive oil.
You want to tell a little story? I arrived and I got a gift, a bottle of olive oil. And how did this bottle of olive oil come to be? I thought this is a great story to share.
It's actually, we have a single olive tree in our yard, and this last year we thought we would contribute to the local cooperative, and we did. We had something like 15 kilos or so, and we just hauled in the olives. They weighed them and identified the type, and then a few months later we went back and they gave us credit for the olives that we contributed, and then we could have as much as we want. So there may be one molecule of our
It's a really nice story, though. It's a really
oil in there. So
it's a really nice story. And something we do with our neighbors too. We have olives in our lotissement, which is like a small housing tract, and we all get together, gather the olives, and take it to the cooperative, and then we all share it's a really nice thing about living in the South.
It's we've got fantastic neighbors. It's just incredible. And one great thing about Saint-Remy is that we live within walking distance of the center. In fact, some days or weeks we go days without getting in the car. I go by foot, by bike, very nice bike paths.
Yeah, sure.
And then we're right at the base of the Alpi, which means Little Alps. And so within 20 minutes or so, we can be at the Greco-Roman ruins of Colonum, and which is right across the street from the monastery where Van Gogh stayed for a year and painted Starry Night there. And then just right behind the monastery is a walking path at the base of the Alpi, and we walk, or we can go up in the mountain if we want to.
Sure.
And so you have the city, and then you have the nature just there right next to each other. So
and as far as I understand, Saint-Remy-de-Provence, there are a number of American expats, and I know it's a popular expat community. We have like less expats where I am. And do you think that's beneficial to have a nice expat community? Are you able to form groups and hang out together?
You would be amazed at how many there are. And in fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because I would definitely suggest that if folks are interested in living over here, that they Google international group in the area that they're interested in, and you can become a member before you even come over, and then you can ask a lot of questions.
Perfect.
We're still members of the one here that's based in Expat Communities.
That's a really nice one.
Where we lived for 18 months.
I think the Anglo-American Group of Provence. That's a really nice group too.
AAGP is a great one.
I also just wanted to ask you about securing like a long-term rental. How was that process? Did you find it difficult? Was it challenging? Or
well, it was interesting. First of all, in France, everybody wants a dossier that proves that you're worthy.
Sure. Like a collection of papers and documents
that show
and
you
financial
resources and references if you can get them, that sort of thing. So we did that with our property here that we rent. We've been renting for 11 years now.
Okay.
A fantastic landlord.
Wonderful.
His name is David Mistral.
Okay, great.
He doesn't speak English, but we communicate without David French, and just a great guy. But we had to produce this dossier, and then there was a little bit of a hiccup about they really wanted 1 year's deposit.
Okay.
To put in a separate bank account in case we defaulted on the rent.
Sure.
but we had never had to do that. So we got past that
Sure,
quickly,
sure,
and it just became a normal
Yeah.
1 month deposit like you'd have in the States.
When you,
Yeah.
For
1 month.
1 month's
One month
deposit.
away.
Yeah.
Good,
So
good.
it's very, very
Yeah,
straightforward.
that's
Then of course
nice.
you get your utility
Mhm.
account set up, all the other things just
Sure.
like you do in the States.
That's great.
It's really pretty straightforward.
I kind of tried to stress that you can contact the owners directly. You can have, if you can establish a relationship with them, they're happy to kind of muddle through a bit in some broken
Right.
English and French, and then,
Oh,
you know, it's a
right.
lot about relationship building, I
And
think,
we
when
did-
you're looking for a place.
We did this, but we know some friends that they were looking for a property that they weren't probably going to live in year round, but they were wanting to be in it for several months at a time. So they contacted vacation rentals
Okay,
like this one
Yeah.
and said to the owners, "Can we
That's a
rent
good
this
idea.
year round?"
that's a good idea.
It's-
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Furnished,
Uh-huh.
you know, internet,
Mm-hmm.
all utilities taken care of, and then you can come in and get a feel for the lay of
Yeah.
land.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that. Really nice.
And
Mhm.
you'd be
Yeah.
amazed at the convoluted situations that come up. You know, that people have, you know, discussed.
Been able to get a secure place and rent, and
Yeah.
And you say you've been in your place. It's the
It's
same.
over 10 years.
10 years. 10 years. Yeah, that's wonderful.
It's just,
That's wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, we happened onto it, and the owner is actually the builder,
Oh.
and he's a young guy. He
Uh-huh.
was only in his 30s when we first found it, and it's got a little pool, and
Fantastic.
you can walk to town. It's
Yeah.
brand new, and
Uh-huh.
if the slightest thing goes wrong,
It's right there.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
just
Yeah.
text him,
Sure.
and he says, "I'll be here in 10 minutes."
Yeah, great.
And or how about tomorrow afternoon
Oh,
at
that's
3 or
nice.
something like
Oh,
that.
that's
I
really,
mean,
that's great.
he's-
You guys had a great situation. You
Yeah,
guys had a really good
he's a great
situation.
guy, so it's that kind of security is really valuable.
And so, you know, from time to time we think about buying a property,
Uh-huh.
but then you think, okay, here we've got this great landlord
Yeah.
with all these potential issues that we might have to deal with the other property.
Sure.
He
Good,
takes
good
care of
point.
them, so it's
That's
really,
nice, yeah.
it really is a strong incentive to
That's,
keep
yeah,
renting.
I understand. That's a good point. Just wanted to ask you too some tips for people who are thinking of coming over and retiring in France in general or south of France, which I will say Gail has written 2 books. One is Passion for Provence, 22 Keys to La Belle Vie, which is full of tips. We'll get a little bit more into detail.
Right.
And just really quickly, Ralph mentioned his passion for bird watching, and the second book is The Bird Watcher's Wife. Nice to talk about those books as well. And so some, you know, things that we can talk about for potential retirees coming over to the south of France.
I think that the most important tip I could give would be to seriously consider renting first.
Okay.
As much as it's a wonderful thing to feel like you know where you want to go and you want to control your life and so on and so forth, you just can't anticipate what it's like across the year, throughout the year. Unless you're just coming here for 3 months, then okay, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you're considering year-round living, then you want to experience, you know, at least 6 months, I would think. So you get what happens in summer isn't necessarily the same.
I agree. And you guys, you had lived somewhere previously, if I remember correctly. Did you lived in Aix for a while?
Yeah, for 18 months.
You lived in Aix-en-Provence. We had the same experience where we lived in Toulon for a period, and then we wanted more of like a village kind of quieter lifestyle, and we ended up. So we rented too. It's a really good idea to rent.
Yeah. And then you find out what resources are available, what activities are available that you both are, you know, gravitate to. For example, Saint-Remy is just an hour from the Camargue, which is great for Ralph.
Yeah.
And as you'll find out if you read this,
the Camargue is beautiful. It's a really beautiful place.
This book is not just about Provence, but we went all over France looking for birds in 2019, and so there are a lot of tips in there about way up north in Brittany and
places to eat, places to stay.
and over in the Basque Country, Saint-Jean-de-Luz, and Alps, Barcelona.
Kind of like a guide too. There's a guide to places to stay.
La Belle Vie.
La Belle Vie, great. Thank you so much. This has been so informative, and I love hearing different stories, and we get a window into your life in the south of France. Feel free also to ask any questions, put it in the comment section, and we'll go ahead and get back to you if it's questions specific for south of France, this region of Provence, or even just how to come over, visa healthcare. We're more than happy to answer your questions. So thank you. Merci beaucoup to Gail and Ralph.
Hope to see you.
Hope to see you soon in the south of France. Bye.
Bye.